Hey y'all, welcome back to Jitterbug Home Services. So today we're tearing apart a bathroom, kind of. Basically I'm redoing the walls in the bathroom, taking off all the fixtures, popping trim to put on another spot, taking off the mirrors, taking off the lights. I gotta mount an outlet into the wall that's hanging out of the wall. That's fun. Taking a piece of drywall off the wall, that piece right there. I don't know why that's there. Making an access door out of another one. All kinds of fun. Anyways, I was standing here with the customer a minute ago, and we were trying to figure out how these mirrors might be attached to the walls, and I had mentioned they're probably glued. And then I started pulling on one because I can't leave well enough alone. And I made a joke about how I'll probably end up breaking it. And sure enough, in front of the customer, oops, it hit the counter and I shattered the mirror. So it is what it is. Anyways, you guys get to sit there and watch on my fun playtime of tearing stuff apart. Try not to break too much. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna put some music in. Before I let this get too far out of hand, I'm gonna clean up some of this glass. Because that's the last thing I need floating around. It's just a bunch of shards of glass that's been around it cutting me. Any of you that haven't worked with me or haven't gotten the just fabulous opportunity to watch what I do and when I do it and how I do it, in person especially, have probably not heard me say I'm not really working unless I'm bleeding. And I don't know if that's because I'm that accident prone, because I guess I am, or because I just at some point will cut myself almost daily. It's kind of like my own form of bloodletting. Makes me feel good at the moment. Afterwards it doesn't make me feel good at all, because then I have a sore that hurts for a while. And I have a tendency of cutting my hands, although they don't cut well anymore. They're just shells these days. So I'm going to try not to bleed all over the place. I'm going to try to clean some of this up at least. But of course, you know, I'm cleaning it up with my bare hands. So maybe it's just that I'm not very bright. Whatever the case, it works. Always has, and will for at least a couple more years until I'm just so destroyed that I can't move anymore. I need to go get my coffee. It's currently, never mind, that's not working. 9:50 a.m. I've been up since 11:30 last night. So it's going to be kind of a long day today. I have to go help another friend after I'm done here today. I plan on being done with this around 4:30. Not done. I plan on leaving here at about 4:30. The other friend I have to help is up in Orlando. I'm in St. Cloud right now. That's to help her move a bed frame that she's getting. And that's supposed to be between 5 and 6 tonight. So yeah, hopefully I can get a lot of this done and get some primer on the walls that refuses to dry for an entire day. It'd be nice if it would dry faster, because I'd love to get a lot more done, but I can't promise anything. What I'm doing today is the customer wants the wallpaper to not be wallpaper anymore. But any attempts that they've made at peeling it off is not working. It's that stuck to the walls. And so there's a couple other ways of dealing with wallpaper. It doesn't always come off easily. And if it doesn't, you can cover it. And so there's a couple of schools of thought on that. One of them is to just mud over it with drywall putty. It's called a skim coat. Skim coat is a thin layer of drywall putty that you can basically paint on with a roller. You have to thin it down a little bit more than it comes out of the bucket. But you paint it on with a roller, then you take a taping knife, which is a drywall tool, it's just a drywall knife, and you pull down from the top or pull up from the bottom. But basically you pull it in one long line all the way down. And you don't put a ton of pressure on that because you don't want to take it all off the wall. But all you're doing is putting a really, really thin layer of drywall over top. So the other issue though with doing that, because drywall putty is just dust and water basically, is that you're introducing a bunch of water to wallpaper. And when you introduce water to wallpaper, it's one of the methods of removing wallpaper is to steam it. And so if you're introducing water to wallpaper, if it has the opportunity to bubble, it will bubble. If it bubbles, you have to take all of it off. I don't really want to take it all off because I think it's going to be a hassle and a half. So what I'm going to try to do is to paint it with oil paint, oil primer. It's stuff I use called Zinsser cover stain. Really good stuff. It's pretty much all I use for anything. Anyways, I'm going to try to prime it first. Once it's primed, cover stain has a tendency of sealing the wall in, and cover stain is really good for houses that people have smoked in, also for pet urine, stuff like that. Anything that's a pretty massive imperfection in the walls. And so cover stain is an oil-based primer, goes over top, seals everything in. Then after that, I will hit it with putty, and I'll skim coat the whole thing. I'll fill gaps, I'll fill holes like those, I'll fill gaps like these. So those will get a little bit more thickness, a little bit thicker putty, and then I'll skim coat the whole thing. After I skim coat it, sand it. If it needs another layer, I'll of course have to do another layer, sand it again, just make sure it's smooth. And then she wants this whole bathroom to be white. So I'll then hit it with primer again, and then I can paint it. If she wants texture, I'll have to talk to her about that. I have no idea if she wants texture or not. If she does, fine, no problem. We'll texture it first. Texture can be applied in a couple of different ways. I have a hopper, which is a texture gun that connects to my compressor. The other method is I could always just go get the spray cans of texture, which are about as messy as a hopper, but it depends on what I'm in the mood for, I guess, that day. They both work equally as well. When you get the cans from the store, they dry in about 5 or 10 minutes, which is really nice. When you use a hopper and you mix your own, lots of times you mix it pretty wet, and so it doesn't dry so fast. And it really depends on how my job's going and what I'm in the mood for. So right now I'm removing everything. Got to do a little bit of planning in my brain, and then build a ladder, because I forgot to bring my ladder. So I'll probably bring in my sawhorses and a piece of wood so I can get up higher, because I have to empty that off of there and get that off there, because she wants all of that, of course, covered as well. The good news is she says this comes up, so I might just do that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So figure it out as I go. I have it somewhat planned right here, but you know, plans in your head and plans on paper are two completely different things. So I'm going to play my music and I'm going to work. I'll turn you guys on I will turn the camera on for a little bit of that. Hopefully I'm not turning anybody on that's watching me. I'll turn the camera on for a little bit of that. Don't know if I'll show you everything because it's not really as exciting as it might seem. It's not as exciting as anybody might think. It's pretty monotonous work. So we'll see how it goes. At the moment, I'm gonna go get my coffee because I'm tired. So I'll be back in a little bit. So yeah, So, what I was telling you guys about when you put water over wallpaper and it sometimes bubbles, what you want to remember then is if you have any that's peeling, just peel it off. That way you don't have any loose stuff. If you have loose stuff, you're gonna definitely have a problem when you try to paint or putty over top of it. They're right there. I just pulled a piece of caulking off right here and it bubbled, so I'll probably have to pull that piece off. I don't mind removing some of this. I don't mind removing all of it if it would come off easily, but if it's not going to come off easily, I'm not going to screw with it because I really don't want to deal with the problem. So yeah, let's continue on, see how it goes. So the lights, I'm going to kind of remove, if that makes sense. Which basically just means I'm going to detach them from the wall, but I still want light in here, so I'm going to let them hang. You know, safety. So these come off with these little screws. Screw here, unscrew here. Literally all that's holding them to the walls. These off as you're going in the trash because she doesn't want these legs. No, I don't want these legs. Trash can over here somewhere. So we gotta mount it. Oh, that's fun. Okay. What did they glue these things onto? Oh no. I really do hate people sometimes. Okay. Alright, so what you probably can't see, there's a screw there, there's a screw there, and there may be another one, but I don't know. There's supposed to be a screw here and here, but if there was screws on those, then this whole thing would be mounted upside down because small part go up to catch the screws. So when you're putting a drill inside of all this, that shouldn't be hot. That's just ground, that's no big deal. That's not hot either, that's white. The black ones, those are hot. Don't touch those. The white ones can be hot, but I don't think they are. They're not supposed to be. But at the same time, obviously nothing was done right at this house. And that's the wrong bit. I have to go get a square bit for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those screws out of there, and then I'm going to remount this part to this part so that there's no exposed wires, but that way I'll be able to paint around it and putty around it with light still there. But I can move it however I need to. So I have to go get another bit. So I get paid the big bucks because I have the right bits on me. So I'll put the bit, reverse, and unscrew. Here, let you guys see what I'm doing so I don't have to stare at my armpit. There you go. And we unscrew this one. And unscrew this one. The top. seems like it's still holding on. It's just stuck from being old. Yeah, it's just stuck from being old. It's fine. Alright, now I gotta go dig in the trash can and find those little nuts that I popped out a minute ago. And put that light fixture back together so I don't have to worry about shocking the crap out of myself. There's one. I'm gonna sneeze in a minute. There's two. Alright. One. Two. Alright, can you still see? Still good? I was gonna put that in my mouth, but I'd really rather not. So, put this back together, kinda, sorta. And there it is. And there's that one. Cool. Let's kind of reattach this whole setup. That way, if something decides to pull loose, or I pull on it too hard or something, I'll get the wires out and shock myself or start a fire. Because neither of those are happy occurrences. I don't mind bleeding. I don't like being electrocuted all that much. Alright. Yeah, there we go. Cool. It's a very thick wire. It's like 10 gauge wire in the back of that. I don't know why. It's completely pointless. But whatever. The way that wire goes for this kind of stuff, for any lighting, and these days we have all LED, so it doesn't even need to be as strong as it used to be. Anyways, the way that wiring goes is most houses that are wired on a regular circuit, a 120 volt circuit, and if you ever hear any electricians talk about it, they might say 110 because it's 110 volts, or they might say 120 because it's 120 volts. Honestly, they could say 117 because it's 117 volts. It's because it's within that same range. It's all the same. Anyways, anything in the 120 volt range, which is your regular outlet, 12 gauge wire is all you need. It's called 12-2. Usually Romex is yellow for the most part. The stuff that you see contractors use, like electricians, when they're wiring a house, might be white, might be any color. White or yellow is usually what you see. For 220 volt, which is also called 230 and 240, because again, it's in the same range. It's 10 gauge usually. It would be 10-3, and it's because it has two hots, a neutral and a ground. As far as color coding wires, for house wire, you have a black, a white, and a ground, which is copper or green. You'll see green in the fixtures. You won't see green on the coming out of the wire. For some reason. Oh, I guess not. Anyways, for 220 volt, 240, 230, whatever you want to call it, you'll see black, red, white, and ground. Red and black are both hot, which is the ones carrying the power. Then you got neutral, which is the return. Ground, just to ground it all for safety. The way that wiring works, or the electricity works, is if you connect, figure, let's go for 120 volt. If you connect the hot, the black, but you don't connect the neutral, the white, and it can't return back to where it came from, and it's an open circuit and it won't provide any power. It needs a full loop. Electricity needs a full loop in order to power anything. So it has to return back to its source in order to provide power to what you're trying to power. So, if anybody has any further questions on that, feel free to ask. I'll explain more. I've done a bit of wiring, a bit of plumbing. I prefer plumbing, but electricity and water are pretty similar in how they act. So they're pretty easy to figure out. Once you figure out one, you can usually figure out the other as well. Water, of course, doesn't need a return, but they're pretty similar. Similar in the fact that they'll both go to the easiest source possible. So if you have a pinhole leak in a pipe, it's going to want to get out of the pipe that way. So it'll create a much bigger hole in a short amount of time because it's the easiest source to get out of, as opposed to a valve which holds the water from going anywhere. Electricity, if there's a break anywhere, it's going to run out of that break to try to get out. It's basically just one big jailbreak trying to happen all the time. The other thing with water is water and air are alike. For like when you're testing to make sure that something is watertight, if you put a compressor on it and the air won't escape, then the water's not going to escape either. You can do that the other way with water to something that's supposed to hold air. If the water can't escape, the air's not going to be able to escape. So it's just how I check things sometimes to make sure that they're tight enough for what I need them to be. If I sound like I'm rambling, I am. If you're not interested, don't listen. If you don't agree, probably don't care. So you could tell me about it, but I may not listen to you. Really good at not listening. So ask my wife, she knows all about that. Ow. If you're wondering, this lady doesn't want any of these strips on her seams, which is why I'm gonna have to fill all these seams. We're gonna keep these, I think I mentioned that, to put on the cabinets over there, because Warner are keeping it here, but I guess not, so. Yeah, like they're plastic. I like it when they're plastic. Makes life a lot easier, plus it's not going to get damaged with water. So that's good. If it ever floods in here, she'll be safe as far as her trim goes, at least. Here's my little organization part. This is going at the bottom of this, so I'm going to put it inside somewhere. Right here. Yep, perfect. It'll fit up here, but nope, it's not gonna fit up there. How about this? We'll put it next to it. I just don't wanna step on it or forget about it. Hey everybody. Alright, it's day 2 of this job I'm doing in the bathroom, redoing the walls. Today I have to do some sanding. I have to cut where I put expanding foam on a couple of spots and putty those areas. I have to do super thin skim coat on a couple of spots where I was able to get the drywall or the wallpaper off. And then I'm hoping to be able to paint today. I have a primer paint mix that should be perfect for this area. It's wet, scuff, and mildew resistant, and this is going in the bathroom. So you guys will be along for the ride, watch what I do, and hopefully it all goes well. Thanks. So I'm going to cut away the expanding foam first. I'm using the wrong saw for this, but I think it'll probably work using a plumbing saw. Thing about saws is when you're using anything to cut, you look for the serrated teeth on the blade. Anytime you use something with teeth on the blade, serrated blade, it's kind of like a steak knife, chainsaw, they're all the same. The teeth make it so that you don't actually have to put any pressure on it. You just need to move the saw back and forth, and the teeth actually remove material, and the saw does all the work for you. So even though it is a hand saw and you are making the movement, you don't have to put any down pressure on it. So you guys will be able to see me do that right here with this expanding foam. Of course, expanding foam is pretty much soft, but it'll at least show you kind of how saws work for that kind of situation. So, we see that? Yep, we can see that. Closer, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna try to stay kind of flush, so I'm gonna bend the saw blade a little bit. Nice and smooth. I'll probably go one more pass this direction just to get a little bit extra off. And then I'm gonna take putty. I'm gonna go right over top with the expanding foam with the putty, and it'll make it flat and smooth. So it'll be perfect. So here's a closer picture so you can see what I'm left with. Not too bad. There's a little bit of a lip you can see here. That's mostly because there's a hole right there. And then there's a little bit of a lip down here. So, yep, I'll just hit that with a little bit of putty and that'll take care of the whole problem. So I sanded all the spots that I hit with the putty on the drywall, or the drywall putty, with 60 grit, which is actually quite coarse to use on this, but because I'm not looking for a perfectly smooth finish, since the wallpaper I'll also be painting is not perfectly smooth, 60 or 80 grit, it's fine. When using sandpaper, the grit size is, the lower the grit, the coarser the paper is, and it'll take material off faster. So you really don't have to put a lot of pressure, and you shouldn't really put a ton of pressure anyways when sanding. If you use a lower grit, more coarse paper, then it'll take a ton of material off. So just, you got to be super gentle, super careful, and pay really close attention to what you're doing. But you can see if you look at certain spots, like this right here, it's completely smooth, and it's smooth all the way, and there's no bumps in it. So I have to go back over all of this, and I'm going to use acetone and a paper towel. And it's actually a fabric towel, but it's my rags that I have. And I'm going to wipe everything down, make sure it's clean. There's a couple of spots on the wall that need extra or just need a really thin skim coat. I'm going to hit those. They're going to dry a lot faster than the first coat I put on, because it's going to be such a thin coat. There's a couple of holes I'd still need to fill that I didn't see before. And then I'm going to get on to the painting part of this. But so far, it's all sanded. I sanded by hand, so you can see my arms are covered in it. The floor is covered in it, so we're going to clean all that up. Obviously, when you do this, you can see like boot prints, so I'm definitely going to be tracking the dust, so I have to be mindful in a person's house to wipe my shoes down or put booties over my boots, and so that I don't track it through their house. So on to the next step. So I've wiped up the walls with the acetone. I still have to sweep up the floor a bit just so I don't track this everywhere. The next step is to put this access panel in. She had originally just asked me to cut out a piece of drywall and stick it in, but now she's asking for like a door handle and hinges. So we're just going to put an actual access panel in, because that's the more proper way of doing this instead of just fabricating something. So I'm going to do that. So we're going to put an access panel in. This is for her plumbing for her shower. She has a built-in shower in here with drywall on the two sides. So you guys can see that. So you can see the hole right there. And so this is the cutout that I had made for her access. So we're just gonna take this big lunker, because it's the closest thing to fit, and then we're just gonna kind of easy peasy. So I've got 2 coats of paint on these walls now, and these things are sucking this stuff up like they're thirsty and it's water. So tomorrow I'm gonna have to get more paint. I'll show them to you now, but they're definitely drinking this stuff up. So but at least I've made it that far. Gotten 2 coats done, so it's good. I'm tired. I'm going home today. Be back tomorrow. Hey everybody. So day 3 of this super exciting project. Obviously the paint sucked into the walls pretty badly. So I got another gallon of paint. Got to do a little bit of light sanding, lighter grit sandpaper, of course, because I'm sanding a couple of drip spots, a couple of spots I don't like. I'm gonna recoat the walls again, and just a couple of touch-up spots before I move on to the next part of this project. All done.